Hello and welcome to this new video. In today's video we're gonna take a look at some secret nerfs to the Open Great League. Well, not a single Pokemon got actually nerfed this season. We're going to have here some Pokemon that most likely going to be having a bit of a tougher time. That doesn't mean that those Pokemon are going to be not usable. Some of them are going to be definitely a little bit more trickier to be used. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at 10 Pokemon that are going to have a bit of a tougher time next season. Well, still, of course, all of them are top tier meta Pokemon. They're still going to work out okay. But yeah, they want to have some more counters, and we want to take a look at those Pokemon here today. Again, if you enjoy those type of videos, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like and subscribe to this channel. Always put a lot of effort into trying to research the new meta for the new season. And yeah, if you enjoy those videos, I would really appreciate if you can support the channel. Anyway, let's move on with the first Pokemon. I've seen some talk about this Pokemon here. Feraligtr, Shadow variant, normal variant as well, kinda going to have a little bit of a tougher time, and the main reason is actually Bibarel, and that's also the main reason why I think Bibarel is going to be a very strong Pokemon that a lot of people are going to run. If you take a look at the meta, and if you take a look at Bibarel, this Pokemon is actually very, very strong. Well, it's only down to like rank 66 or something like this in the meta. This Pokemon will definitely have a lot of play. I would imagine that Bibarel is actually the Pokemon that will have the most amount of play of the direct buffed Pokemon this season, in terms of like the Pokemon that got new moves, which I think like 4 total. But yeah, Bibarel, for sure, a Pokemon is going to have a lot of impact because every single move other than Crunch is going to be resisted or double resisted by Bibarel from the Feraligtr, and you're going to be able to do a ton of damage against it back. It's one of the hardest ends to Feraligtr, and while you see like on the left side the current meta score against the updated meta, the meta Pokemon that's against are not updated. Like those Pokemon I haven't updated yet, those are not the Pokemon that are going to be actually top meta in terms of like what's actually going to be played. For example, a normal Stunfisk going to be a little bit higher up as well. I think it's rank 22 now next season from over rank 100. And so like there's going to be some changes towards what you see on the left side. It's currently just a small overview on what is going to go up against the current meta with the changed move stats there. For example, Thundershock does a little bit more. But yeah, Feraligtr going to struggle a little bit more next season, especially also with all of the electric type move updates. Also something like the Steelix is going to be able to counter it now thanks to the move Thunderfang. Moving on to most likely the hardest nerfed Pokemon, and again, you don't see it directly on the left side yet because the meta hasn't changed there like directly yet, only the move changes have occurred. And as you can see here, Toxapex. There have been so many harder answers now to Toxapex, and so many Pokemon that are really good against Toxapex, that this Pokemon is very difficult to play next season. I would imagine that Toxapex is most likely the hardest nerf for the next season. We're going to have Gliscor, hard answer with it, with Sand Attack and Earthquake. We have our Psywave user of Starmie. We have Diggersby, which got buffed and going to have more usage, and going to be a hard answer. We have the new Galarian Moltres being able to completely destroy this Pokemon as well. We have the Stunfisk, we have the Steelix. We have so many Pokemon that are getting completely destroying completely the Toxapex here, making this Pokemon nearly unusable in my opinion. So yeah, this thing here for sure is going to be something that you don't really want to run too much anymore. Again, there's going to be still matchups, so you're going to be able to use this Pokemon in certain kind of ways where it's going to be good because it's like one of the best stat products in the game. But still, Toxapex definitely going to have a little bit of a tougher time for the next season. Moving on now, we're going to encounter here the Ariados. Ariados has very similar problems to what we saw already with the Toxapex, that a lot of the Pokemon that are really good against it got a decent buff. For example, Starmie going to very likely win this. I actually didn't calculate it, but I'm fairly certain Starmie gonna win the 2-shield scenario for sure against this Pokemon, as you're gonna do super effective stab damage with Psywave against this Pokemon, and you have a lot more attack than the Malamar does. So that's going to be not the best matchup. It's not the worst matchup either, to be fair. But then we have matchups, for example, against the Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres has super effective coverage moves against you. You do resist damage with your stab moves, which is going to be a little bit tricky for it. We have Steelix, which is going to be able to take any kind of hit as well, while having neutral damage with Thunderfang and also super effective damage with the Psychic Fang. And we just have a lot of very solid counters coming up against the Ariados. And so I would assume that Ariados is going to drop a little bit down as well. This Pokemon going to have a bit of a tougher time, especially with Pokemon like Corsair being in the meta. So once a very good core breaker, and still, again, every single Pokemon on this list is still going to have a little bit of play. Like, it's not that those Pokemon are going to completely disappear. Again, not a single Pokemon here is going to have a direct move update where moves got like worse in general. There's not a single move that got nerfed this season, and so it's going to be a little bit of smaller like changes or whatever. But I still think that Ariados is going to have a bit of a tougher time this season compared to last ones. Next one, going to be Annihilape. Annihilape is going to be one of the Pokemon that didn't get the nerf, even though Rage just got nerfed basically in the beginning and was like shown as being nerfed. It's not going to be nerfed, it's still the same as last season. But Annihilape, going to be a Pokemon where yeah, there are going to be some more tougher changes towards it. Like, a lot of the Pokemon that recently got buffed are going to be very good against this Pokemon. For example, here, of course, the Gliscor, but even against Pokemon like the Galarian Corsair, you're going to have a tougher time as your smaller version of Primeape. Primeape is not in this video because I think it has a better matchup against Pokemon like, for example, even the Starmie is going to have a better matchup because you're a bit too slow. You're a bit too slow with Annihilape for the current meta. I do think that a lot of the Pokemon that got buffed for this one or got introduced with the Galarian Corsair, that's going to take advantage of you being so sluggish with the fast move up counter. And there's just Primeape way better. Primeape going to have better and faster coverage for the Starmie. It's going to have better and faster coverage for the Corsair, and doesn't take super effective hits from the Corsair either, which makes it a better Pokemon even defensively. Makes Annihilape just not really as ideal to use. Still, again, you can use it. You can also use it with Ice Punch to try to counter those flying type Pokemon that get a bit of a buff, but still, generally speaking, Annihilape not as ideal as Primeape for the next season. Talonflame. I'm not too sure about this Pokemon. On paper, it looks like it got nerfed. Like, on paper, it definitely looks like it got nerfed with, like, a lot of the other Pokemon that we have here, like the Bibarel, which is going to be a great answer for the Talonflame, or like Corsair having access to Rock-type coverage move in order to one-shot this Pokemon. We have a lot of Electric-type Pokemon that got buffed, which are going to do super effective damage against the Talonflame. But on the other hand, then as well, again, you're going to have some Pokemon, like a lot of Mod Slap users, are going to be a little bit more common in order to counter those Electric type Pokemon, so like it could still have some play. I still think, generally speaking, it's going to have a little bit less play than last season. Doesn't mean that this Pokemon is unusable, but I do think it's going to have less play, especially because of Bibarel. I would assume that Bibarel is going to be a very common Pokemon for the next season, and so yeah, definitely going to be a bit tougher for Talonflame. Drifblim just found its hardest answer in the Bibarel as well. Like, Bibarel, again, like for most of the meta threats, Bibarel is going to be a hard answer. And while Bibarel is going to struggle against some certain Pokemon that are not top meta, against the top meta, Bibarel is going to be one of the best Pokemon to run, which is kind of ridiculous. But yeah, Drifblim, Ice Wind, Shadow Ball, Astonish. Against a normal water type Pokemon, you do nothing. Like, literally nothing. It's gonna get completely hardboard. Then we have the buff of Alolan Sandslash, which is gonna do more damage now, even with the charge move of what's called Ice Punch. Yeah, before it already was a bad matchup, but now this Pokemon going to be more common, but you also get more damage from it. Even Pokemon like the Diggersby, where you are the hardest answer towards it, they're still gonna do a little bit more damage with Fire Punch now as well. All the electric type Pokemon that got buffed. Drifblim is gonna have a bit of a more difficult time next season for sure. I am definitely sure that this usage is going to go a little bit down there. But yeah, still interesting Pokemon here. But I would assume that Drifblim going to have basically had its best day throughout this season. And you might be a bit confused. Clodsire here, the #1 Pokemon of the meta apparently from the first calculations. Why do I think that this Pokemon got a little bit nerfed? You see it on the screen. There are so many Pokemon that are currently not really in the rankings, that are not really going up against it, that got buffed, that are good against this Pokemon, making it very tough to play it. Even Pokemon like the Gliscor, which I even forgot to put on here, I'm going to be very strong against this one. But you have Starmie, which is going to be one of the hardest answer to you. You have Bibarel, which is going to be better than other Roller users, because you have Stab, super effective damage against it here with Surf. We're going to have the Corsair, which is going to be able to resist the Poison Sting, which is going to be kind of nice as well, making it a very solid matchup for itself. And it's just going to be a bit of a tougher one to play Clodsire for the next season. I do think, again, this Pokemon is still going to have some play, as most Pokemon here, but I do think that the usage is going to drop out a little bit there as well. But we can now move on to the next opponent, I want to say next Pokemon, of course. Azumarill, maybe a bit of a surprising one, but again, a lot of the meta Pokemon are really solid, and especially the Thundershock buff going to make it very difficult for Azumarill to win certain matchups. For example, the matchup against the Galarian Stunfisk would have been a very solid for the Azumarill beforehand, but now with the Thundershock buff, it actually changes quite a bit, especially in the, I think, one-shield scenario, you're going to be able to now lose with the Azumarill, which you weren't be able to before, basically. And so, the normal Stunfisk is going to be a very strong meta pick in the current meta anyway, and Azumarill doesn't really like it. Then we have Thunderfang on these D-Legs. Could trap Azumarill quite easily and punish this Pokemon as well with super effective damage. We have the Starmie going to be able to resist the fast move and Ice Beam, or also Hydro Pump, while still doing neutral damage against the opponent's Azumarill with the fast move of Psywave and the charge move of Power Gem. So, while Azumarill again is not going to go anywhere in terms of like disappearing, I think it's going to have a little bit of a tougher time next season, mainly because of those changes. But then again, maybe if you want to, maybe let's say if you hit 400 likes on this video, I maybe make a video as well about secret buffs for the season. I think that might be some interesting for you guys as well, because due to those changes, there might be also some other Pokemon that got a little bit better, which you're gonna see then as well in that video if you want to see that. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the next one. Galarian Moltres, and this Pokemon is mainly in there because there has been some basically early calculations for the next meta, and this Pokemon dropped out of the top 60 as far as I was able to see it for the next season. Mainly, I guess, because of the electric type buff, but also against like Pokemon like Steelix. I feel like Steelix is going to have a lot of play actually next season just because of Thunder Fang, and you're going to be able to do basically no damage against this Pokemon with Ancient Power and Brave Bird. It's going to be a little bit of an issue there. You have Bibarel doing some super effective damage against you as well. But yeah, Galarian Moltres, it just dropped out of the top 60 as far as I saw it in the first calculations for it, and it was like rank 40 or something currently. So I feel like, well, it's still going to have some play, don't get me wrong, this Pokemon's still going to be around. I'm fairly certain that this Pokemon going to have a little bit of a, yeah, more difficult time maybe next season, mainly also again because it's going to be weak against the electric typing. And the final one for today is going to be Alolan Marowak. While you might think, oh, this Pokemon was never really meta, it is still actually, I think, in the top 50 before for the Open Great League. The thing is, like, every single Pokemon basically that get added is a hard answer to this Pokemon. Like, literally every single thing there. Like, we see the 3 major move updates in here as well, with Bibarel, with the Surf variant of Starmie, which is going to be able to outspeed them, and we're going to have here, of course, Sand Attack as well, and then we're going to have the Electric type buff, which makes one Pokemon particularly strong with the normal Stunfisk, which is a hard answer to the Alolan Marowak. Alolan Marowak is going to have, like, such a hard time next season. This Pokemon has basically no play at all, I feel like. But yeah, this can be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. Again, if you want to see another video where I'm going to talk a little bit at the top secret buffs for the next season, then let me know down below, and I will see you then. Bye bye.